Alright y'all, welcome back to Combat Arms channel. So today's video is going to be a little bit different from the stuff that I'd normally do. Normally it'd be like a military unit or a training and whatnot. But this is actually from a YouTube channel called Now This World. And they have a lot of interesting videos. Some of them get a little too political for my taste. I try and avoid, the messy politics of stuff that I don't necessarily understand. But if I can put a solid opinion on something, I'll do a video of it. But they have a lot of cool videos, and they have a series called How Powerful Are, or How Powerful Is. And this one is actually How Powerful Are the Nordic Countries. So it's pretty interesting. It's got a lot of good information from what I've seen so far. Now, I didn't really know, and I still don't necessarily understand the difference between the Scandinavian countries and the Nordic countries. I've heard different things, but from my understanding, the Scandinavian countries are generally like the neighbors around like Finland and Sweden and Norway, sort of like that region. But I don't know if the Nordic countries just includes more stuff like Denmark and Iceland, Greenland maybe. So maybe this video will provide a little bit of context for that. But definitely feel free to fact check anything in this video, because y'all would probably know a little bit better than myself and probably these guys. But yeah, if there's anything that sounds a little bit weird, definitely feel free to correct myself or the video, because I want to be as informed as possible. But it seems pretty interesting. How powerful are the Nordic countries? Again, it's not going to be talking about just specifically the military, but more like politics, economics, and whatnot. So should be cool, so let's check it out.
You know we love our viewers, and lately it seems that a million of you, nay, a maximillion of you, want us to explore the strength of the Nordic countries. Well, here we are. How powerful are Sweden, Denmark, Norway, Finland, and Iceland? You're welcome. Now, technically, the Nordic countries are also made up of the Åland Islands and the Faroe Islands, and also Greenland. The Nordic countries are a culturally and politically overlapping group of parliamentary democracies located in Northern Europe. Individually.
All right, there's a lot of big words going on, so I'm going to pause the video every now and again just so I can make sure I take in everything. Okay, so he was saying that the Nordic countries were like Finland, Norway, Sweden, Denmark, and then I think the islands and Greenland, if that's correct. Again, definitely feel free to fact check myself or the video. But okay, that's pretty interesting. Basically, any country that has like the cross on their flag, would that be a Nordic country? That's what it's looking like here.
They tend to score near the top of most global achievement lists in areas like women's rights, environmentalism, quality of education, and homeless outreach. When taken together, they comprise the 7th largest area in the world at 1.3 million square miles. That's about the same size as India.
It's kind of cheating.
Unlike similarly large nations, the Nordic countries have some of the lowest population density in the world, with only 26 million total residents. This is mostly because half of their land is uninhabited Arctic, thanks to Greenland. But even without Greenland, the rest of the remaining countries are still larger than Germany, France, and Italy combined.
Okay, so that's pretty interesting already. I know with the population density, if there's a low population density, you can have a much better quality of life. I know here in South Korea, there's like, I don't know, 50 million people, I think, in this one small country. And people get very, very crowded, especially like Seoul has like 25 million people in the Seoul region. So it can get very crowded, very polluted, very messy. So the quality of life, at least in my opinion, isn't as good as it would be if there was a lower population density. Just because you have more room, it's a little bit easier to maintain everything. So that's definitely a nice payoff having that. I'm not necessarily sure if there's like an issue with like fertility rates, because I know in like Korea and Japan and whatnot, they don't have an issue with low population density. However, they do have an issue with fertility rates. So I'm not sure if that's an issue over there. It didn't seem like it. I know there's generally a lot of young people over there from what I've seen in like videos about, the Scandinavian countries. There's a lot of young people, but I mean, that's pretty interesting. It's pretty nice, especially if you're trying to live there or move there, or, make an argument for being able to go over there and have a lifestyle that you want. Having a low population density gives you a little bit more, not necessarily opportunities, but it gives you a little more freedom for how you want to necessarily run your life. So that's kind of nice.
Economically, they are quite well off. When compared with the European Union, the Nordic countries have had much stronger GDP growth over the past 10 years.
Nice.
Only Finland has changed its currency over to the euro. Combined, their GDP reaches $1.7 trillion, which would make them the 12th richest area in the world, just below Canada. Per capita, Norway's GDP alone is 80% higher than the Eurozone, and its residents enjoy the highest standard of living in the world. In fact, all of the primary Nordic countries rank in the top 25 in the highest standards of living. However,
so standards of living, yeah, again, that would go with like the population density, but man, you can imagine, I know if you look up like the happiest people in the world or something, a lot of times the Scandinavian countries will come up. I'm not sure where they get those facts and whatnot, but I can imagine living in a country that's like as beautiful as like Norway, Sweden, and Finland and whatnot. It would be pretty nice, and you'd have like a much better respect for the land and the country if it just looks beautiful. Because again, when you have very populated areas, it can get very polluted, very messy, and just very noisy to have all the hustle and bustle, so to speak. So, living in an area where you have like all these beautiful mountains, fresh air and whatnots, and a government that cares about like economics and also like social issues, maybe like cleaning up the country a little bit better, it definitely helps with the quality of life. So you can really appreciate the country a little more.
The Nordic countries cannot be said to have a comparably strong military. Individually, Norway, Sweden, Finland, and Denmark rank from the high 40s to the mid-20s when stacked against the rest of the world. In fact, Iceland's only military is its Coast Guard, and they are the one NATO member without a standing army. When pooling the combined forces of Sweden, Denmark, Norway, and Finland, you end up with $21.3 billion spent yearly on defense, or around 3.5% of the U.S.'s military.
Okay, I'm going to cut that off real quick. So, again, people love to compare like military budgets to the U.S., but the U.S. is just very highly invested with their defense budget. And if you're a country that invests that much into your defense, you pretty much need to maintain that for the entirety of your country's lifespan, because the second you change that up, people will notice it, start shifting things around, and it gets very political. But you can't really compare everything to the U.S. budgets, because the U.S. likes putting a lot of money into their military. And I mean, I can appreciate that because I'm in the military and I can see the effects of it sometimes. But yeah, it's kind of nice. But again, it's not really the best example to compare it to. Countries will be pretty well off if they spend like a fraction towards their military of what the U.S. would actually do. So it makes sense. Again, they are saying the militaries are pretty small. Iceland doesn't necessarily need a standing military. I don't think a whole lot of people are interested in taking over Iceland, at least in my opinion. But yeah, they're not really putting into account the amount of training. So I know the United Kingdom also has a very like small military when compared to the United States, but their forces are very well trained, and it's very similar to stuff we've seen in the Scandinavian and Nordic countries. Their militaries are very, very well trained, and they focus on what they need to focus on to ensure their national defense. So yeah, there's a bit of a trade-off with how much money you're putting into it, but I think it works out well enough for them.
Budget. Although they might not have the strongest military, their presence is more relevant as an international peacekeeping force.
Hell yeah.
Luckily, the Nordic countries have relatively friendly relations with most of the world and trade freely with many of their immediate neighbors. However, about a fifth of their trade is amongst themselves. In 2012, nearly a quarter of exports from both Denmark and Sweden went to other Nordic countries. Clearly, Sweden, Denmark, Norway, Finland, and Iceland are pretty great places to live. A recent World Happiness Report listed all 5 in the top 10 happiest countries. Although the reason for Nordic countries ranking so highly so regularly has been attributed to their social welfare and high taxation. So how powerful are the Nordic countries? Powerful enough to be happy. But before you go out crazy, yes, we are going to keep making this series, and yes, we still want your input. Make sure that you subscribe so that you don't miss a single video.
Yeah, so again, their videos are pretty solid. They do get a little political sometimes. I was looking at the how powerful is Sweden video, and yeah, I can tell that the Swedes were not too happy with that video, so I didn't want to upset y'all if I was doing a reaction to that, because it didn't seem like you guys really appreciated that one. So this one's pretty good though. It has a pretty good overview of the Nordic countries, so definitely feel free to fact check anything that seems a little bit incorrect, or if you guys just have any opinions to share on this video, definitely feel free to put that in the comments section. But it is cool to look at videos like this. So if you guys would like to recommend any other videos, at least in this series about how powerful are, or how powerful is, definitely feel free to put that in the comment section. I'd love to check that out and see what y'all are interested in me checking out. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. And again, if you're not subscribed, definitely consider subscribing and hitting the bell so you're notified when I upload the next video. But that's it for this one. Again, I hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you all in the next one.